0, so it's safe to say they've had a very successful start to their season. As for boys hockey, unfortunately, due to the majority of the team being quarantined, all events have been postponed until at least December 26th, if not later. Their last win was last Saturday, where they won 8-2.
More winter sports. Dance team. Performance and competition routines are going very well. They have begun to perform at basketball games and are gearing up to perform at both girls and boys basketball games tomorrow night. As for cheer, winter sideline is well underway, cheering at home, basketball, and wrestling events. Competition cheer has participated in 2 virtual competitions so far, the results for which will be released tomorrow. For wrestling, they have had a great season so far, winning their first dual meet in 2 years against Prescott at the beginning of the month, and hosting a few other successful meets this month. Finally, we are going to focus on the special feature for tonight, which is the AP Art Activism Murals. As one of their most recent projects, AP Art students have created murals inspired by the project 30.1. Students were encouraged to create a mural relating to social justice issues they are passionate about. Many students chose to do their project on racial and gender inequalities. All students had to paint their murals on 8 by 10 foot pieces of plywood. They are now being displayed in the halls of the school along with other projects relating to social justice that Mrs. Olson's classes have created. So as you can see in the bottom right hand corner, that is Emily Lutz's mural. While it was still in progress, it is done now. She focused on the No More Stolen Sisters movement, which is a movement calling out and helping to prevent the kidnapping of Native American women. The one in the top right hand corner is Priscilla Regards. It is focusing on police brutality and social inequality just in our country in general. And the one on the left is actually mine, that's KT, and it is focusing on unity throughout our country during this difficult time.
All right, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have a great rest of your 2020.
Great job. The next item is the superintendent's report. Mark?
Yeah, I think we'll jump into Linda Skoglund will be presenting some information from Jay Counter. And you know, the reason we put this on here last Thursday, we have these quarterly meetings about how insurance is going, our usage, and what have you. And they give us all the updates and where we're headed as far as you know, how our renewal looks and what opportunities are out there. And we just got some fantastic news. And I asked her to share a little bit of it because I think it's a tribute to our staff and Dave and Jody and Rod, how they work on this constantly with educating, and people are just making great choices right now, and hopefully it'll have an effect on our rates and our upcoming bidding. So Linda, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fabulous. Oh my gosh. Well, I can't see you, but that's okay. But what that means is if for some reason you guys have a question, you're going to have to stop me. I am very, very excited to be here tonight to share this really good news. Thank you, Mark, for the invitation. We've got some pretty cool things to share with how your plan is running. So we're going to start with a narrative summary, and then we'll kind of slip into some. I want to show you some graphics on what we see. If you're a picture person, I'm more of a visual myself. But great news: the district of Somerset, the school district of Somerset, is truly the poster child for how a plan should run right now. The organization is currently 17.4 below national spending benchmarks on a per member per month basis. And the overall member engagement is 97%. You guys, nowhere across the entire book of a Learn Business do we see a 97% engagement rate. And what that means is people are they're being seen, and there's really probably not a whole lot in what we call kind of Pandora's box. If we see a very low engagement rate, what that typically means is people aren't going to the doctor, they aren't having their preventative visits, and therefore there are probably some things building up or simmering out there. With a 97% engagement rate, that's remarkable. And I do believe that a big part of that is due to the investment that Dave and Jody have made in getting employees engaged. They've really dedicated a lot of time to actually scheduling time for the employees. As a part of the wellness initiative and overall well-being program at the district, they have scheduled individual one-on-one times with plan members, each of your plan members, to be able to talk about their specific concerns. So maybe they need help determining, how to find a pharmacy prescription at a lower cost than what they're paying right now, or maybe they just need help in navigating how to find an explanation of benefits, or trying to find a high value provider. All of these things, when they set these meetings up, we've been doing this over the last couple of years, where we do one-on-one meetings between JA Counter employees and Health Partner employees. It's all been orchestrated by Dave and Jody to be able to get members engaged in the system. And when you have members engaged in the system, naturally they understand the system better. They learn how to be better consumers and use the tools at their disposal. And they also learn to value the benefits more. And I think that just by having those one-on-one sessions, the value perception increased dramatically. We also had some great feedback from the plan participants that they learned a lot during the process. And so we continue down that path of education and trying to help people. So great things to be celebrated. We do have some orthopedic claims that are surgeries that are forecasted to be coming, and we'll continue to help people understand where they can go to find high value providers for those types of surgeries as well. And the other huge win that we see is only 2 members of all your members. Only 2 members have been utilizing the emergency room, and we would call it a less efficient pattern. In other words, some people tend to use the emergency room for perhaps non-emergency situations. And when we look at how that has improved, I believe that number was closer to well over 20 a couple of years ago. And I think, again, a huge testament to what Dave and Jody are doing to really promote education and employee engagement. So our plan is to continue to utilize health partners to address some of the conditions that we do see in the group. We do have some high cost claimants, some high cost members with chronic conditions who will continue to engage with health partners to help folks manage those high cost conditions. And we're going to continue to promote preventive screenings for age-related cancers. That's huge. And I think if we were to think about a COVID impact right now, that's probably the biggest COVID impact that we're seeing as people are delaying their preventive care. So we want to continue to promote preventive screenings and promote primary care visits so that we don't have that Pandora's box sitting out there. We'll also continue to coordinate with the Health and Wellness Program to help address some of the chronic conditions and just continue to help people understand that they've got a resource. Health Partners has got a great team of case managers, nurse navigators to be able to help people navigate their own personal care and get a better, a better outcome or a better patient experience. So we'll continue to work on that. And then the other thing that we'll continue to promote is the use of the EAP. Now the EAP is through Family Means. It stands for Employee Assistance Program. What this program does is really helps people with their emotional well-being, their mental well-being. We'll continue to promote that. As a matter of fact, we just finished a promotion on that for having them come in. We had Family Means come in. Again, credit to Dave and Jody for helping coordinate a video session that was hosted by Family Means. And basically what we were doing is providing education on resiliency. So kind of some tips and tricks to make it through COVID-19 as we continue to progress down this path. So from a benchmarking comparison, you're doing great at all levels. And the one thing that I want to highlight here is your per employee per month spend is well below the benchmark on your spending costs. It's also well below the benchmark when you compare how you're spending currently to the Health Partners aggregate book. just again, all good news. For those of you who are more graphic or visual people like me, this is the history, this is a trend line. What you're seeing on the screen is the blue line representing what we see the fluctuation in medical claims back from November of 2019 through September of 2020. And the orange line is representative of your pharmacy spend. And again, your pharmacy spend is also well below what we see on average. As a matter of fact, what this screen is showing is typically, this is a screen that would show your large claimant spend, your average large claimant spend and how it impacts the plan. 36% of your plan spend overall is due to your larger claimants. But what we typically see on this graph that we're not seeing today is the orange. You'll see the orange on these graphs is almost non-existent. And what that's saying is your pharmacy spend just it's very low relative to what we typically see on groups. So again, running very well. So again, lots to celebrate, and I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions.
I have one. So in the bench bar, what is Springbook? Springbook?
Oh, yeah, sure. So Springbook is the data analytics tool that we use to be able to basically pull claims data and slice and dice it a little bit differently than what we would typically see from the carriers. It allows us to basically, it's given us a lot of leverage when it comes to negotiation for renewal on behalf of the school district of Somerset. And it also allows us to be able to really drill down into what's the trend that we're seeing in the group very differently than the data that we're getting from health partners. And what that lets us do is do these things like these outreach, the outreach for helping the wellness program focus on different areas of education for staff and employees when we know that there's an area that we might want to focus on. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So it's an internal JA counter. That's interesting. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's extremely useful. It's been, again, it's really helped bend the cost, the trend specifically for Somerset schools. I mean, when we look at your renewal and being able to use this data to be able to negotiate the renewal, we can present it in a way that an underwriter is going to look at it and go, okay, you're right, So
Well,
gives
that's
us a lot of
awesome.
leverage.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Linda, if we had employees who should be taking prescriptions but are choosing not to purchase them, would you know that?
The Springbook tool allows us to look at gaps in care. So yes is the answer to that. And what it allows us to do is to engage health partners and their case managers and their care managers to be able to do proactive outreaches to try to help people. And it's not just with pharmacy non-compliance, but it's also with people perhaps overdue for a check-in on their mental health, for example. That's a kind diabetes, mental health treatment. Those are common areas that we see gaps in care where people perhaps aren't going in as much as they should.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did anybody else have any questions?
When do we know our numbers for next year? How much we're gonna go up or down?
Yeah, so your renewal is September 1st, and we typically, our timeline, we just met on this last week, and our goal, our timeline, we would like to be able to do the re-enrollment meetings early again this year like we did in 2020. So in 2020, we were able to conduct re-enrollment meetings in late April. So that meant we had our renewal in March-ish. Jody, Dave, I think it was March that we got the renewal.
I don't know that. Jody or Dave are in on
No,
the.
I don't
No.
think either of them are in on
They're
the
not
meeting
in,
right
they're
now.
not in.
Oh, okay, all right. So I would anticipate we'd be able to get the renewal sometime in March to be able to determine what we're gonna do from a plan design point of view and be able to negotiate those renewal rates on your behalf so that we can do enrollments in April again this year, April or May.
Do you have any idea where we might be? What they're planning for?
No, I don't today, but I can take that as a follow-up and do a renewal projection for you based on how you're running.
Okay. Thanks.
Does put us in good position though.
Well, I would hope, I don't
Yeah.
wanna have a $300,000 jump again.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, we don't need that. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Linda.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any additional questions for you if you have them, but otherwise, very excited to be able to deliver this news, and thanks for having me on the show, and
The show.
program. Thanks for having me in the show. Ay. All right.
Thank you.
We're happy to have
Good
you.
night. Bye-bye.
I have never seen somebody who is working on our behalf, who has their own,
Software.
yeah, set up so that they're ready to negotiate.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
are.
that's amazing.
Yeah, because they can slice and dice the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the person who does their analytics was on with us last week, and this guy's just razor sharp, and he just can't believe our numbers.
Yeah, oh, they're excellent,
So.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Just a telephone break?
I'll keep going, sure. Just, the only thing I have under, my area here right now is, just a brief district health update. Thank God we have winter break coming up, because last Thursday, we started spiraling at the high school, and that's when I sent that note out that we possibly may have to go to distance until break. As you saw from the kids, the hockey team season has been paused until probably the first of the year. I think the girls, it is the same. That was the last rash that just happened here. We had quite a few out with the girls team now, so I think they're pausing. We have 9 staff out at the high school right now. And since we sent that note out, today we had about a third of the kids in the building. So, they're doing okay. Interesting, when we look at some of these other districts around us, one of our neighbors, their numbers in students really escalated when they went to distance, because kids were off on their own gathering and what have you. I really think that we've been really fortunate by keeping our kids in school in a controlled environment. That's really helped. Now, there's a lot of things going on this time of the year where, we're seeing kids gathering without masks and socializing and that, so we're just hoping that when we come back from break, we're in good shape. But again, we've got 9 staff at the high school out.
They're all at the high school?
Yeah. We did have another class out of the elementary today that went out. And I think that's the only class we have. We have a JK, and then I can't remember what the other grade level is that just went out today because of a positive student. So again, break's coming, and should be able to hopefully beat this a little bit. But again, we'll see what happens. We got lucky with Thanksgiving. Who knows what's going to happen with Christmas? We just have to take it day by day and see where our numbers go. But we were spiraling. We have about 40, 50 kids out at the high school as of just this last week. So again, it's a good time for break. Enrollment is basically about the same as last month. We're still in that 45 to 50 down across the board from last year. So that's all I have.
Okay. Financial reports are linked. Did anybody have any questions for Dave? I believe he's in the building.
You know what? I don't know if he is.
Were we still talking about a February, that was gonna come back to us to talk about teacher compensation?
Yep.
That's February?
Yeah.
Work session.
Mhm.
Okay, if there's nothing else, future construction projects then.
Yeah, I sent out, Wold and Market Johnson updated their numbers. There wasn't much of a change, but they put the project cost to contingencies, so we got a pretty good idea on some totals. And I'm looking at this sheet right here that was linked to the agenda. In the first category, with the high school, those are all projects that, we feel pretty solid about. The middle school, we're still, just as of last week, we started having some more conversations about the fax room and some other projects that need to be done at the middle school. And George and Sarah want to have some more conversations about that, because there's, I didn't realize that we did during construction do some work in that fax room already, and we're feeling that number's pretty high. And I think Sarah wants to address some of the issues in that music wing and art area that we didn't touch this year. So that would be the only project I would say we just need some more time to, wriggle that one out and talk about it a little bit more. Down the bottom there, we talked about doing something with this room here at the very minimal. New tables and chairs, because these tables are backbreakers for everyone to move around, and these chairs are, they're old. And I would say that's the least we should do. The placeholder here was that you see some boardrooms have kind of a permanent type structure for the board, kind of an elevated type thing. They put a number in for that, but again, for myself, I'm just looking at, maybe new carpet, and we get different tables that we can configure more in a semicircle, and chairs. That would clean up this room quite a bit, and that would not, I can't envision that coming to $30,000, so I think we're getting prices on that. So again, the only other thing was the electronic marquee, and that's not on here because that's in the regular construction budget. It's just, we have to decide if we're gonna go that route or not. If we are, there's $120,000 in that construction budget for monuments, and so this, I believe, I can't remember if it was $50,000 or $70,000. I think it was $55,000 for electronic marquee. So again, we got $120,000 in that construction budget that hasn't been accessed yet. So as far as what I would like to see tonight is an approval on the high school projects, the exterior door at the exterior doors at the middle school, and that would be it for tonight. The rest we can discuss. Dave came to me the other day, and he's really a proponent of doing this parking out here and this drop off for JK, because he sees it as a safety issue.
Me too.
And so that's falling into that mix of that middle school. It's about the same price to do this out here, or to stick $400,000 in the middle school. So I just need to know how you feel about that. And this is a safety issue out here, and Lori and I were talking about it beforehand. When you start dropping kids out by the parking lot there, and it just came to me the other day that they said that this year they've had a number of kids that just take off. When you got cars and kids and that much distance, so I see it. The economics of it is, if you're ever going to do a future auditorium, to do it all at once would be great. You'd save some money on it, but again, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other.
So I'm not understanding how this list, Mark, it works with the prior one we saw, because a bunch of stuff is removed, and I don't think the board ever, we kind of indicated what we felt strongly about, I think, but there were a lot of different individual things on the one from our work session. And I don't know how that's reflected in there.
This
Yeah,
list here?
yep, yes.
Okay, well, so like the high school, where it says gym improvements, a lot of these things are listed at the bottom here. And I have a breakdown of what all those pieces, all those components are. So it is in a different format.
But
But
you're
it-
saying everything is in there?
Well, everything that was on here,
Like, I'm even thinking of the district office, or the parking.
no, the district office parking isn't on here, because when we went through this, we weren't, again, this issue of the district office parking just came up again, just in the last part of the week here, last week, where Dave came in and said, hey, can we rethink this again, because of safety? And so I didn't do anything with it, because we'd already visited that once, you should have the information on it, and I can send it back out, but
We
Yeah.
didn't make any decisions
No,
though.
no.
So if we're gonna use this new one, it would be nice to make sure that all the projects were on there so that,
well, we can put that,
on your new.
mhm.
You mean the
Yeah, and this-
projects that we're not gonna move forward with?
Yeah, see, the drop-off, district
We
office parking
decided that.
drop-off was 419. And that's on this sheet, but again, when this one was done, that project wasn't considered again. So, we can redo that, and we can have some more discussion
I
on
just
it.
don't want it to get,
What's
I
that?
don't, the board really never said, we don't wanna do that.
Right.
Well, I didn't sense there was a lot of support for it, for whatever reason, I just didn't see it. But that's just me. I would love to have it, but we kinda gotta pick and choose what projects we're gonna
Right.
do with this.
Right.
So what's your preference as far as, what do you want me to come back with?
Can you explain what is going on with the whole parking lot situation a little bit more specifically?
I asked that too earlier.
The parking lot, this out here?
Yes, what you're referencing is revisiting the parking,
Okay,
district office.
I didn't anticipate this, so I don't, we did send out a diagram, I believe, of what that would look like as far as traffic flow. Because,
I don't remember.
I haven't
That was,
seen it.
that was in the spring. It was
Oh.
in the summer, it was when we were talking with, Total about possibly using some of the extra money back, like in June, we had that contingency and we weren't sure we were gonna use it all. And instead of spending it and possibly pushing the finish of the project, we said, we'll revisit this for next year.
Okay.
But it was the drop off up here,
I'm
so
gonna
they
see if
have
I
a
can
parking
find it.
lot
I'll see if I can
behind the building that's out there. And the buses be able to pull up right next to the doors, drop the kids, and then they loop around and then go back out.
Yeah,
Remember, does that
I,
ring any bells? It was in like June or something.
well, it was recently, we had there was a draw of it. Yeah, and I'm just seeing if I can find it here. Justin, Skywalkers.
and then we had like artificial turf that was on this
Yep,
list.
I found it. It
And,
was, It was linked to, you're talking about the list that was linked to the December 7th
yeah,
work session.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the ones, the big projects we took off of there, because those are referendum projects, like turf and auditorium and,
The-
because we're only, we're dealing with $2 million here.
Yeah, the JK drop-off and district office parking was part of that though.
Right, yeah, that was one of the bigger projects, and I think at that time, I had mentioned that, at that time, we had talked, amongst administration-wise and said, the fax room, was a better investment than the drop-off piece here. Well, since then, they've changed their minds and they want to revisit it, our administration does, so I would still entertain that, but up to then, I had just assumed that the parking was off the table, and that was a bigger project.
In my head, it wasn't.
I mean,
So.
we got
I
plenty of
just-
time, we got,
yeah.
we
Yeah.
can still bring it back if I know what you want, what you wanna see. But this was kind of just a filtered down list of things we could possibly do with the money we had, so. However, if we could, move forward with the high school pieces, and the door replacement at the middle school, that would get the ball rolling.
So you are looking for a motion to approve carpet replacement for 48,000, exterior door replacement, exterior and interior as at the middle school, correct?
Correct.
Because your document just says exterior.
Yeah, well, it's exterior at the high school, but it's interior, it's both over at the middle school.
Okay. Gym improvements, furniture at the high school, and the exterior and interior door replacement at the middle school only.
Right, at this time.
Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items.
Mhm. And then I can come back with the other information, and we can talk about that.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on those 5 items at this time?
How much do we have left over?
Roughly about 2 million, roughly about 2 million.
Okay.
So this would put us at about $1.5 million.
Correct.
Catherine or Patty Jo, did you either of you have any questions? I think they're good.
I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I said no.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we have a motion by Katie and and a second by Bruce.
Yep.
If there's no further discussion, would you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries then.
Thank you, and I'll get that other information.
Can you send us a drawing then? that-
Yeah,
whatever
yeah, there's a real nice
supporting?
diagram of what this is out here, and then I thought we had it out here at one time.
Well,
I remember seeing it.
thought it
Yeah,
was
We
in
did,
June.
maybe it was a POC, I don't.
Yeah, but I'll get
I
it,
remember looking
I'll
at
get it.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda then is the WASB resolutions. These are attached. Catherine, there's 10 of them. Catherine is going to be our representative at this portion of the convention. So she'll be responsible for voting on our behalf. Is there anybody who, well, let's take a motion first and then we'll have discussion.
Make a motion to approve. What is it? Approve WASB 2021 convention resolutions as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. All right, so any questions or comments or concerns about these 10 resolutions?
So as I indicated at our last meeting, I do not support the first resolution about adding a 1% sales tax. I have concerns, I have to bring it up now, I lost it. Part of my concern is that even in their first paragraph, they say, you know, they want to support passage of the 1% sales tax, but then they also indicate, and to reduce property taxes, and so they're kind of having it both ways. So they're saying they'd have the 1% sales tax, which is much harder on those who earn less than those who have higher incomes. And I don't want to put more pressure on people to buy food and things that they need, especially if it's even indicated in their paragraph that they it's going to reduce property taxes.
Well, it says it should not be used by the legislature.
It should not, but hang on, I gotta bring this up once.
Okay.
So it says in here, in the very first thing, and help lower property taxes for Wisconsin taxpayers. Well,
Oh.
adding a sales tax is not going to lower
And then
property
in the
taxes.
second paragraph, it says,
The rationale is it's gonna take some of the burden off of the local taxpayers for the school district.
I'm
and
good with
generate
that.
statewide.
Yeah, and I totally am good with that, but I think we need a comprehensive, like, school funding bill. I just don't wanna just say we wanna add a 1% sales tax, because there's no, yeah, it's just my thoughts. I
That's-
don't think it's the way to go.
It's increasing from the 5.5 that it is.
It's going up to 6.5.
6.5.
So Minnesota's 7.5, 7.5, 8, depending what county you're in. I think.
sales tax?
Mhm.
Like
7.5, 7.525 in Bloomington. I think
Some of the thinking behind
Dayton's
these
the same.
programs were to let outside people pay for it, you know, when they come into.
I'm not arguing necessarily against that. I just would like to see a comprehensive. I would support it if it was comprehensive. I don't want us to say, look, we just went to our taxpayers here
Right.
as a school board and asked them to pass the stuff that this stuff is supposed to fund. And then say, oh, by the way, as a school board, we also want to increase the sales tax here by 1%. We need funding. I just want to, yeah.
Well, if it's in a lower property taxes, my property taxes have gone up every single year significantly, even this year when they weren't supposed to go up, they went up again, so.
Mine went up
so-
$66.
A little more than that.
I haven't opened mine.
But I mean, if we're adding, I mean, I guess I'm not seeing it because it's not a huge it's not a huge number already. I think just judging like across the rivers that we're lower than them already. I guess the 1%, I get it, I don't want to pay any more either, but it's not like it's going up.
So like so in my head, just, you know, and like we do pay for schools and with our property taxes, it is a lot. But, so in my head, if you're using a property tax basis, then those who have less in property, less value, wind up paying a proportionately less than those who can afford much higher property. With the sales tax though, it's the exact opposite. If you think about it, because you're paying the same price for that bit of food as somebody who makes a much higher income. So I don't want us to either get to the point where we're saying, okay, now we're gonna put a regressive tax on top of this. I just wanna see something comprehensive. That's all.
I get what you're saying. Did anybody have concern about any of the other resolutions? All right, so,
I haven't made a motion.
I know, we had a motion to approve them in a second.
So
and-
I'll call the question then.
What, okay, I'm wondering if,
I don't know if I'd have a second.
you might like to offer an
Well,
amendment?
Bruce made a motion, I seconded the motion, do we not vote on the motion that's on the table?
We can,
Okay.
all right,
If it
all in
fails, then we
favor
go
of,
off to another motion. I think that's the procedure you take.
all in favor of passing all 10 resolutions?
Aye.
All right,
No.
Aye.
I vote no. Roxanne?
I said aye.
Okay, what about,
Weird here.
1, 2,
Aye,
3.
you're also.
Okay,
Yeah, I said aye.
Okay, yeah.
all right,
Two.
so 2 no and 5 yes. All right, motion passes then, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the school board policies. Would anybody care to make a motion there?
I will move to approve the policy updates listed on 4C 1, 2, and 3.
Is there a second? I'll second. Are there any questions or concerns about any of the policies?
Did we ever, I know we had some discussions on 3A.
Yep.
What did we decide on? I just want to make sure that we took into account concerns that were received by staff.
That sentence is added, or the portion of the sentence.
So if you click on the policies
District-wide.
and you look
With
at,
exception of student separation, district-wide,
This one.
yeah, the green.
so it has that additional language that's in green.
Okay.
There were some questions asked at our last meeting. Some people had asked for dollar amounts of what the expenses were, and we got some information on that over the weekend, I believe. I did have a conversation with Dave about whether he had all the information he needs to implement the policy, and he said yes.
Oh, good.
And I think those were the only two things that were brought up at the work session. Are there any other questions or comments about any of the policies?
Maybe not the policies, but just on this last one here, this using money to buy. Is there, I've seen it heard about it at other schools that they have like, the kitchen ends up making stuff that we end up paying for, like extra. So we were talking about like Donut Friday or something like that, where the kitchen makes breakfast for the staff. And the staff don't have to get charged for breakfast on those days. Get what I'm saying? Like, and then the school would pay for it through that account. Is that something that can be done so that technically the administrator is not buying something from somewhere, we're paying it for?
Well, I think
in the
as it
school?
reads right now, it's for,
District-wide only.
yeah, what was the verbiage
And that was the
there?
one language, I guess I didn't.
You know, when we have things like, I'll just use an example, like back to school workshop, where we have everyone together, we'd have, you know, our food service taught her, do something out there, and then
Yeah.
we pay for it.
Yep.
And that would,
And that's in the policy now, as I read it, that's okay. As long as it's a district-wide type situation.
any other questions on that?
I don't know. I still don't like it. I still don't like not giving the people the opportunity to spend money out of their school account for things that they deem necessary.
So should I amend my motion to approve?
I mean, this is better than what we have. I will say that. This is better than the way it sits right now.
You can always change it.
But
Let's try
yeah,
it. and-
I'd like it to not be done, I guess.
Let's just try it and see how it goes. I mean, we can always come back to the table and say, you know what, here's what's working, here's what's not, and amend the policy. But I
So,
think we got pretty good direction now.
okay, so I am
You can
gonna
make the-
amend my,
You can,
well, that way you're not voting no to all of them.
I'm not gonna vote no. I'm gonna vote yes, because I like this better than what we have. I'm just saying I don't.
Oh, okay.
It's not perfect. I don't like it yet, but as, it's better than what we have. So I'll still vote yes, but
Okay, don't need to.
I want it.
Are there any other policies that someone had a question or a comment about?
I agree with Bruce. I think it's better. I wish we didn't have to do it, but I certainly understand this is a different world that we're in, but I think this is a good compromise that maybe we can live with. So I'm with Bruce.
Anything else?
I agree with Bruce and Catherine. I am just wondering if, I know this is a policy and it's in writing, but let's say a staff member has a situation that the staff member comes to Mark or something and says, hey, Mark, can we do this? Can we ever have an exception? Or can we not because it's a written policy?
One of the things that Dave discussed with me was if there's a situation where it was questionable, that he would have the ability to go to the district administrator to make a decision.
Okay. I think I like that. I do. I agree with Catherine. The times are changing, and I'm pretty much new and don't know all the ins and outs, obviously, but disappointing staff members right now is the last thing I want to do. And I know, I get it, but I'm trying to find a happy medium compromise. So I like the idea that maybe somebody could go to Dave and you with, hey, I have this situation. Is there a way we can work something out?
I think we're gonna have a lot of district-wide events coming up here.
There you go.
So,
I don't know, forget it.
Well, yeah, I just feel concerned with what it's gonna do with morale by not having the opportunity to, show some appreciation and gratitude to staff if they're going above and beyond, which they're always doing. That this policy prevents that from happening and diminishes their sense of worth as employees of this district. It concerns me that we're the only district that has policies that are this specific as well. I looked, all of our neighboring districts do not have policies of this type, so that's my concern with it. Are the other districts wrong in allowing for food purchases for celebrations at district expense? I could see if there was some area of abuse, but that hasn't been brought forward to us or proven. I should say it has been brought forward, but I don't feel it was proven. So I'm concerned on a lot of levels with this. And what's our intent here?
Any further questions or comments?
I have a comment. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I support the language that's there. The exclusivity that was being permitted prior to having this did not represent district-wide spending for meals or even for teachers. It wasn't for appreciation, it wasn't things like that. So it's not this idea that it's taking from teachers. There was never that on. We wanted it to be inclusive and fair for the entire district. And as someone who's looked at the bills for the past 7-8 months now, it needed to be fair, not just to specific people who held credit cards. So I totally support this. And coming from a state where you don't get anything, I think this is actually extremely nice because it allows us to do stuff for the staff and students on an inclusive level with everyone across the board, not just specific people.
If there's nothing else then, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
I'll say aye.
So motion carries 6-1, thank you. Consent agenda,
I move approval of consent agenda items 5A, B, C, and D.
I'll second that.
any discussion on any of these items?
Thank you, SMC.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. General information, January meeting dates on the 4th and 25th. Bob, anything for once around the table?
No, I don't think so.
Bruce?
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Nothing from me. Merry Christmas.
No.
Catherine?
Nope, I'm good.
Patty Jo?
I just want to apologize. The meetings always end up after the weekends that I'm on call. And if I have scenes during the weekend, I don't want to expose you guys to anything that I could be exposed to on the scenes that I go to. So just want to, I wish I could be there, but I can't due to that. And happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tasia is sending a separate link for the closed session.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourning out of open session.